This week, we were treated to the first devoted development live stream for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, during which the Microsoft team discussed all things for the 2024 sim. The team on this development live stream tackled many of the hard questions that have been gathering up for a while since the announcement of the new sim, such as alpha and beta testing, the next world update details, and details around system specifications, why the minimum, the recommended, and the ideal settings are the way they are. We've taken all the highlights to save you time watching the 2-hour live stream, so let's jump straight into the video. Quick disclaimer: if you watched the development live stream already, you will find nothing new in this video. So before you jump over to your next YouTube video, why don't you hit that subscribe button or stick around if you want a quick recap. Before we get into all the nitty and gritty of the 2024 information, the team did discuss a little bit about 2020, including the Boeing 707. They now have a long list of items that could be improved, so I assume we're going to see an update when it comes to the Boeing 707 in the future. Jorg mentioned that the Pan Am livery that was seen with the 707 release will be adapted across other Asobo and partnered aircraft that flew the Pan Am, such as the Airbus A310 in the future. Aircraft avionics update number 3 has been scheduled to release on October 1st, which is only 1 week away. The update number 3 will focus on the INI builds A310, the Neo 320, and the Hans Hartmann Pilatus PC6. Microsoft team mentioned that the aircraft and avionics number 3 is done and they're just waiting to launch or release it. The ATR 42600 stall and the 72600 freighter update will be released on the 10th of October, and that's all we have when it comes to 2020 stuff. So moving over to some of the 2024 questions and answer details of the stream, it was split up into a few different categories, so we're going to go over these. That being said, the Microsoft team have been gathering questions from the community since the announcement of the 2024 sim, and they started off with some technical questions. The first question was about ideal specs and recommended specs and why the use of 64 gigabytes of RAM when it comes to ideal specs. Sebastian mentioned that the sim will run on something lower, such as 32 gigabytes, but when you have everything on ultra high settings and running a bunch of applications in the background or even recording flight sim footage, you'll start seeing some compromise in the sim's performance. That's why 64 gigabytes is being set as ideal settings. Marcel went on and elaborated around the question on a minimum, recommended, and ideal specifications against different screen resolutions, and the aim of these spec classes is to achieve a frame rate of 30. The minimum spec class will give you a frame rate of 30 for 1080p with settings on low and a render scale set to 70%. When it comes to recommended settings, it will give you a resolution of 2K with settings on high. There was no mention of the render scale though. And when it comes to ideal settings, it will give you a resolution of 4K with settings on ultra, and there was no mention again when it comes to render scales, but the frame rate they are achieving when it comes to ideal settings are already over the 30, and they're sitting between 40 and 50 when it comes to frame rates, and they have some more optimization to go. When it comes to VR specifications, the team are aiming for the same specifications that they've had when it comes to 2020 for VR, and Xbox Series S will give you a 1080p experience when it comes to 30 frames, while the Series X will give you a 4K experience at 30 frames. The 2024 sim has the adaptive features that a lot of the community was asking for, so you can basically set a target frame rate, and this now has been included, and the sim will try to achieve that for you. Simmers can change the target FPS, which is a great addition to the sim in my opinion, and also they did mention it works with VR. A question was asked regarding the connections of the sim, with the sim being more reliant on having assets in the cloud. Will the sim be able to work in an offline format if there's a service outage? The Microsoft team mentions you can still choose to download your aircraft that you've purchased through the marketplace directly to your PC as an option. So not everything is going to be into the cloud. Obviously, when it's in the cloud, you can play it straight away. But if you want to download it, you got to download it into your community folder or into the other folders like we've had with 2020. The next category was weather and the world. Grass, trees, vegetation, and water will all be affected by wind. That's pretty interesting when it comes to trees, because when I've watched some of the online gameplay, I haven't really seen trees move around, but Sebastian said yes, they will move around. Turbulence in the clouds have been improved along with wake turbulence, which we already knew about. Cloud layers and structures have been improved, but only a little bit when it comes to visual of the clouds, because the cost of improvement doesn't compare for what you actually see when it comes to the performance on the sim. A working weather radar will not be available when it comes to launch. This feature is currently in the backlog list, but the windshield wipers, on the other hand, are now working across the sim on all the different aircraft. The worldwide sim has a live historical weather right up to 24 hours only, so I'm not sure if that's the best phrase to say it. So you basically now can slide back 8 hours in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and you can use the current weather from that time, and that also includes traffic and shipping data, which is great news. When it comes to the 2024 sim, there's no new autogen buildings for a bit of a refresh for the launch. Jorg, the CEO of Flight Sim, mentions they have not partnered with a Black Shark in a number of years now. They kept that one a little bit quiet. So this feature is going to be refreshed and rebuilt by the Asobo team in the future. This was due to what they wanted was very limited when it comes to the partnership with Black Shark, and it's on the cards for a future improvement down the line. When it comes to handcrafted airports with the new standard and deluxe and premium deluxe editions, there is no new airports. The airports that are included in these packages are a redesigned existing handcrafted airports. Microsoft has done this as they're redoing all their handcrafted airports, and this has been a big task. They didn't want to step on any third-party developer toes in their development opportunities, so basically all the handcrafted airports in 2020 sim have been enhanced. Depending on which package you purchase, you'll see that amount of enhanced handcraft airports, and I believe it was Gaia Simulations that was doing the updates. The next category was peripherals and settings. All the current controls and peripherals that are currently working in the 2020 sim will work in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. The new sim allows controller companies or peripheral companies to submit their settings and profiles to Microsoft when they release new products, so they can already be put into the sim. When it comes to the 2024 sim, you'll need to do all new key bindings for the new sim. You are not able to transfer any of your 2020 sim settings across. This makes sense as it's an all new sim profile system, and they also mention all the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 flight hours will not transfer across to 2024. VR support has been confirmed to be working, that we sort of alluded to before on the day of launch, and it will have new optimizations. They didn't really mention what optimizations, but they are still aiming to have the same sort of specifications required, but it's always different depending on what headset you use. Tracking hardware such as TrackIR, Toby, and Beam will also be supported when it comes to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on day one. All the settings for your controllers or peripheral profiles are saved in the cloud in 2024. So this question was also asked because obviously we've had some glitches when it comes to the sim where you lose your settings, and that being said, they said you can't export or import your settings, unfortunately. So we may still suffer some of the same issues when it comes to losing your settings that we've had in the past. I've had that a couple of times and it's a big bummer, so hopefully they can make that a little bit smoother and we don't really have any issues like that anymore, but it's still on the cards. The next category they spoke to was core features. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 will support online ATC networks such as VATSIM, Avio, and Pilot Edge as they do with the 2020 sim. AI traffic has been improved when it comes to ground service logic, so they've put some improvements into that. ATC has been improved for launch, but not to the level of same tensions and beyond ATC. I'm not sure why they mentioned them, probably because because they are the really pinnacle when it comes to ATC, third-party platform software. But the team didn't really go through what they've actually have been improved, but they did mention they might invite a working title and some people from Asobo, as they're the people that have been doing work on the ATC. And they did mention they are keen to see how other third parties do in this space, as in EG say intentions are beyond ATC. I guess they're watching closely to see if their features or their products are something that they may want to bring into the sim. That's me assuming anyway. Some of the flight effects that they've included in the sim will have a lighter version when it comes to multiplayer, such as contrails. We should be able to see multiple contrails in the sim. When it comes to multiplayer, you can't see other simmers, aviators walking around at this stage. You can only see their avatars in the cockpit, but from the sounds of it, Asobo do have the technology to make this work, but you still can walk around and take photos as a group. You just can't see each other's aviator in the multiplayer mode. The wear and tear persistent system is only available in the career mode, but some of the features will work when it comes to free flight. They really didn't elaborate on this and let us know which ones. That was pretty much what they mentioned there. Shared cockpit will not make a launch, which we'd already knew about, but they still did speak about the prototypes, something over at Asobo, but it's pretty clunky and it's not ready for the big show. I think from the sounds of it, we will see shared multiplayer cockpit down the line. A new camera system was not confirmed in the live stream as to whether or not it's been changed too much. That being said, Jorg mentioned they have been in dialogue with other third-party companies such as Parallel 42, so we may see some sort of partnership come from them later down the track. However, they did mention there is no new flyby or tower camera views that the community has been asking for a while. They won't be supported with the sim at launch, but they did mention there is a new free camera option that had some upgrades, and they probably said they'll see how everybody feels once they've used that free camera option. You may not even want to bother going and having a fly-by-wire view or a tower view. They said you can do this all with that one. So from the looks of it, the camera system has had some improvements. They really didn't go into detail about how much updates. The ATC language and voices has been updated with accents and languages from around the world. You can customize and use your own voice in the sim using a product that they've introduced from Microsoft themselves, so that one will be really interesting. They also spoke about model matching, and currently they are 91% accurate when it comes to model matching, and they are still working on contracts with companies to gain licenses to include them in the sim. They just mentioned they are at the moment modeling a Piper, as they just signed the Piper contract. From the looks of it, we are going to see a very accurate sim when it comes to liveries and when it comes to model matching. By the looks of it, they've gone and got all the licenses, so this is great to hear. The next category was a career mode. We didn't get too much information from this because a lot of this is already been covered. They did mention aircraft can be damaged in career mode, but they won't be visible. The career mode can be reset if you want to start again. You don't need to do any of the training modules of career modes. If you don't want to, you can just sit the check rides and fast forward your career if you have the skill set to do so. So that's obviously passing a check ride like you would do in real life. Characters you create can be used throughout the sim, so you can see the character that you create at the start of turning the sim on for the first time. You'll be able to see that in your free flight mode as well. The career system is dynamic, and with world updates, the team can refresh some of the career system and take advantage of some of the points of interest in new airports. There's no confirmation on how and when the career mode will be updated down the line, but they did say they were going to do some updates. Third-party aircraft will have the ability to be able to use in career mode with limitations. Of course, third-party developers at this stage will not be able to make a career mode missions. They were pretty adamant when it comes to that one. The next category, they basically just put in everything in general questions. The team mentions that certain features will be backwards compatible from 2024 to 2020. However, the Microsoft team has not separated the current development reports within the blog website. This will be done in the coming weeks. Jorg mentioned they will have a closed invite for a alpha. He didn't say it was going to be beta. He said it's going to be alpha and it'll be in late October. This was really to test the services and the servers and all that, I guess, and they mentioned that details will be out soon. I guess they'll probably run this like they have done in the past. You'll need to opt in and they'll invite a selected few, and obviously there'll be NDAs and all that sort of stuff. Freeware aircraft is still in the works to enter the marketplace, but there is still some work in progress at this stage. They basically said they're still going through the T's and C's with the lawyers to make this possible, but it will happen. Local legends and famous flyers won't be upgraded for the 2024 sim launch, or they won't be enhanced or upgraded. However, they mentioned they will be changed. Whether that's just passing through the new 2024 features and flight dynamics, Jorg didn't really mention, but he did mention there is some aircraft that have been updated for 2024, which would be something like you would see with the ATR, and there's only a limited number of aircraft such as the ATR that have been updated for 2024, and they didn't go into any other detail other than the ATR. Also, what was mentioned that the float plane water physics hasn't been updated for the 2024 sim. The last category that was mentioned, they called it a marketplace and ownership, and they mentioned content that you purchase that has been purchased already in the in-sim marketplace will be available to stream right away in the 2024 sim, but if you want, you can re-download them so they can be in your community folder. Jorg also confirmed that the in-sim marketplace purchases that have been done on the Steam version for 2020, if you go and purchase the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on the Microsoft Store, all your marketplace purchases will come across. There has been some conflicting information, but Jorg said he was adamant on that, and he asked the team and he said that is happening. Higher purchases of the sim, such as the deluxe and premium deluxe and the aviator packs, will receive discounts for future famous flyers and local legend releases like they've done in the past. So it may be worthwhile actually getting the aviator pack after all, so you may get an extra discount over the life of the next 4 or 5 years of this sim. That basically finished off the development live streams questions, but the team did mention we have a few things to look forward to in the lead up to the release of the 2024 sim. Moving forward, the team is planning on conducting a weekly Q&A live stream on selected topics about 2024 sim in the lead up to the release. Starting next week, they will have an SDK live stream, so that'll be very interesting, and I'm sure many third-party developers will be receiving a lot of information for the first time, and they may even find out when they actually get access to the SDK, and obviously there'll be some partner aircraft information and so on. So it looks like a development live stream each week. Jorg mentioned that the team plans to sustain Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 as well as 20 like they originally mentioned years ago, even though the two sims will be at a different rhythm, which is pretty much understandable in my point of view as they are using different technologies. That being said, World Update 19 has been announced, which will be Brazil, Guyana, French Guiana and Suriname. World Update 19 will include 14 cities, 7 airports, 75 points of interest, so the usual stats there. This update will come with a local legend number 20, and it will be the Cap 4, which has been developed again by one of the usual partners, which is I&I Builds. World Update number 19 will be available on either the 19th or the 9th of December, so that will probably be the last update we'll see for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and 2020 before Christmas. If you got value out of this video, please consider subscribing and smash that subscribe button to stay up to date with the best Microsoft Flight Simulator coverage on YouTube. We are consistently following the updates through and after the release of the 2024 sim, and we will see you on another Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 video real soon.